Darko. I'm just a random guy trying to put the shit out of his mind. I'm trying to get my shit done. So yeah, hello to the new subscribers. We are already like 12. Yoo-hoo! We are not many, but I guess that my speech is actually helping someone. I'm just a random guy like you. I haven't studied psychology or philosophy or something like that. I'm just a guy trying to expose my thoughts on a camera because I find it really therapeutic, and it's much more cheaper than paying a psychologist. So yeah, here I go. Today I have written down what I want to say, like always, because I'm some Spanish guy. Probably my English is limited, so it's a lot more easy if I have my thoughts written down in order, so I can communicate better to you. I used to speak English daily, but due to some circumstance, I'm not using English as much as I used to do. So yeah, here I go with my speech from today. Today I would like to talk about decisions. How much responsibility should you take from your decisions? Should you just look at another place when it's something that it will make you put you on a fight, on a conflict with someone that you love or something like that? How much responsibility if you need to handle? Like, for example, I don't know, will your decision change someone's smile? A person who has had a bad day, will you help her or him to smile? If you actually smile her, will she smile back? Will you change her day? Or maybe if you make something quite good, will you change her life? Is that even possible? Moving to totally the opposite. So yeah, and I have always think how fragile is our life routine in general. For example, from being a winner, like a succeed worker or an engineer or something like that, to just some dumb guy in the jail, it's not that far away. It's just maybe 2 bad decisions. For example, you're an engineer, you are succeeding at work, you have much money, but suddenly you got a moody day, you have an argument with your boss, you have also domestic in house. So imagine that you push your couple, she hits against a wall or something, she sue you, you end up in jail. So it has been just 2 bad decisions which has ruined almost all your life. So yeah, it's a bit shocked that it's said. I have read many times that it's much easier to build, to destroy something than to build it. And here's the proof. You can be an awesome guy working really hard all your life, studying, doing exercise, 20 years, but in 1 year you are eating whatever you want to eat, or sweets, or really bad, or not doing sport, you're gonna get fat, like I did. So that part, I don't find it fair. It's like, you need to fight always. But I think that it's a way of the way how the nature itself gets evolved. Like, it's the way of getting better and better. If you are not right and you are not succeed enough, you will just pass away and you won't put your genes in the next generation. That's what I say. I don't think that nature is something sweet like lately people are trying to say. I think that they try to show us that nature is something like Disney, like movies from Disney. But I think more like nature or nature in general, or the world, it's more something like Game of Thrones. It's like hit after hit after hit. I need to be quite stronger. You cannot be that fragile, or you will end up bending your knee most of your life. So yeah, I want to tell you also like about the decision, like I was saying. I think that the decision isn't about what other person tells you. It's like about what do you think with your own criterion, what could be the right choice. Also, I think that it's interesting that you make each time sharper, stronger, and all those things because it will help you to deal with your problems in the future. So yeah, I think that you need to project yourself in like 10 years and like who I'm gonna be, how I want to be. is that the kind of person that I want to be? Isn't it? What I'm doing to achieve that, I'm doing something. So I think that the amount of decisions that you make per day, it have a really heavy weight in the future. Because literally deciding your life, minute after minute. So yeah, I don't think that you need to listen to someone. Where's my cat? It's being annoying. So yeah, I don't think that you need to listen to someone. I think that you need to act by your responsibility, not by your dad, by your best friend or something like. You need to do what you think that is correct. You may be wrong, that's a possibility, but you need to expose your thoughts, be actually free. If you accept that you can be offended, and you can also offend someone by your speech. So yeah, I think that is something worth it to pay. Like, you may offend someone, but that doesn't need to be the main reason of your speech, of your conversation, making or try to generate a conflict. But you should avoid them, but I think that sometimes they are necessary to face. So yeah, you need to push yourself out and say, no, that is not what I think. Or that's wrong by my criterion. I should do that. I shouldn't do that. Also, I think that the way that you will have in the life of someone else is much more heavy than you think that it is. And I've been just like with a little bit of push, something that have become really strong, have developed a lot, just with a nice word or a push or something, I don't know. This will help more people, I guess. That is just me saying random things. So yeah, what else I have written in here? Yeah, what I said, I think that if you don't listen your own conscience, your deeply thoughts, and you become better by your own criterion, you want to be smarter, you want to be well educated, you want to be better, you want to be faster. You need to work on it, because if you try to to silence that inside voice of you, I think that the consequence that you're gonna pay will be tremendously expensive. I have a theory. I think that when you're close to pass away, you will ask a question to yourself, like, I have been what I wanted to be, or I have been just following commands. I've been a sheep. You have done what you wanted to do by yourself, by your own criterion. You are gonna live without a smile. But I think that if you think at that moment, like, I have just been following commands, I've been nothing more but a puppet, I don't think that you will pass away in peace. So I think that the decisions are actually the brick that you need to put each day to build something, and that something is you. So I think that it's really interesting to work on it. That's me just saying random shit. I hope you understand my rotten English, and that's it. Bye.
Graduate students, and one of the things that was really awful about that was that it was really hard on the high-performing graduate students, because they felt that even being in the same category as the people who weren't working hard and pulling their weight devalued what they were doing, and that's exactly right. And so this is also why there's a conscientiousness trait and an agreeableness trait, because conscientious people judge you on your accomplishments, right? They don't give a damn about your feelings, not a bit. It's like, are you doing the work or not? Whereas agreeable people think, well, your mother's sick, and you've got a bunch of family problems, and we all have to take care of each other, and it's no wonder that you're having a rough time. And like, you can't say that one of those attitudes is correct and the other isn't correct. You can't say that. There wouldn't be those two dimensions if there wasn't something correct about both of them. But you can certainly point out that often they conflict, and so the demand for inclusiveness and unity and care, and the demand for high-level performance in a hierarchical structure. They're very different orientations in the world. And so it's complicated for people who are agreeable and conscientious. And actually, I think often that large corporations and large institutions of any sort run on the unheralded labor of people who are high in agreeableness and high in conscientiousness, and they're disproportionately women. And my experience in large institutions has been that if you want to hire someone to exploit appropriately, no, not appropriately, if you want to hire someone to exploit productively, you hire middle-aged women who are hyper-conscientious and who are agreeable, because they'll do everything. They won't take credit for it and they won't complain. And that's nasty, and I think that happens all the time. And so one of the things you have to be careful of if you're agreeable is not to be exploited, because you'll line up to be exploited. And I think the reason for that is because you're wired to be exploited by infants. And so that just doesn't work so well in that actual world. And one of the things that happens very often in psychotherapy, you know, people come to psychotherapy for multiple reasons, but one of them is they often come because they're too agreeable. And so what they get is so-called assertiveness training, although it's not exactly assertiveness that's being trained. What it is the ability to learn how to negotiate on your own behalf. And one of the things I tell agreeable people, especially if they're conscientious, is say what you think. Tell the truth about what you think. There's going to be things you think that you think are nasty and harsh. And they probably are nasty and harsh, but they're also probably true. And you need to bring those up to the forefront and deliver the message. And it's not straightforward at all, because agreeable people do not like conflict. Not at all. They smooth the water. You know, and you can see why that is in accordance with the hypothesis that I've been putting forward. You don't want conflict around infants. It's too damn dangerous. You don't want fights to break out. You don't want anything to disturb the relative peace. You know, and if you're also more prone to being hurt physically and perhaps emotionally, you're also maybe loath to engage in the kind of high-intensity conflict that will solve problems in the short term, because it takes a lot of conflict to solve problems in the short term. And you know, if that can spiral up to where it's dangerous, which it can if it gets uncontrolled, it might be safer in the short term to keep the waters smooth and to not delve into those situations where conflict emerges. The problem with that is it's not a very good medium to long-term strategy, right? Because lots of times there are things you have to talk about, because they're not going to go away. And so partly what you do with agreeable people is you get them to figure out, and they have a hard time with this too. If you ask a disagreeable person what he wants, say, or she wants, they'll tell you right away. They know. It's like, this is what I want, and this is how I'm going to get it. But agreeable people, especially if they're really agreeable, are so agreeable that they often don't even know what they want, because they're so accustomed to living for other people and to finding out what other people want and to trying to make them comfortable and so forth, that it's harder for them to find a sense of their own desires as they move through life. And that's not, look, there's situations where that's advantageous, but it's certainly not advantageous if you're going to try to forge yourself a career. That just doesn't work at all. So